Lesson number 6, daily summary. In this lesson, we make extensive use of the slope-intercept form of a line. We also see the point-slope form of a line. Important note, we are skipping some sections in the textbook because they cover functions, a concept that isn't part of our curriculum. From this point forward, if you see the word function in your textbook, mentally replace that word with the word equation. If you see the symbols f parentheses x or g parentheses x or h parentheses x, mentally replace those symbols with y. For example, if you read, consider the function f parentheses x equals 3x minus 2, you will translate that to consider the equation y equals 3x minus 2. And then you're back in familiar territory. Slope-intercept form. For a linear equation of the form y equals mx plus b, the slope of the line is m, that's the number touching x, and the y-intercept of the line is b, or 0, comma b. So you've seen in probably some other math class this y equals mx plus b form. Again, the number touching the x is always the slope, and the number sitting by itself is the y-intercept, provided the y is by itself on one side of the equation. In our previous lesson, we saw a car depreciation problem where the car was originally worth $10,000 and it depreciated at a rate of $500 per year. We then came up with this equation for the value of the car y after x years had passed since purchasing the car. Y equals negative 500x plus 10,000. Now, we created this equation in a previous demo without knowing anything about y equals mx plus b, without using y equals mx plus b. So I just want to point out that this mx plus b isn't something that's true because a math teacher said so, but it's something that is very reasonable that you created on your own in a previous demo. So in this car depreciation example, the car started at a value of $10,000. So there's the plus 10,000, that's the starting amount, which is, yeah, that's the y-intercept, right? The starting value, 0 years old, and the car is worth $10,000. And then the 500 per year, that's a 500x, except it's depreciating. So that means that it's decreasing in value. So that's negative 500x. So mx plus b came out without thinking about mx plus b. Number 2, write an equation in slope-intercept form of the line that has slope m equals negative 2/5 and y-intercept 0, 3. So y equals, so it's mx plus b, so that's negative 2/5 x plus, and then the b in this case is 3, and that's it. That's the equation of the line that satisfies the slope and y-intercept that we have given. Let's find an equation of the line that passes through the points negative 1, 4 and 2, negative 5 by following the process outlined below. Okay, so the process is written here in English in the left-hand column, and then the steps are written over there in the right-hand column, but I don't want to just read and point. I want to do this problem from scratch. So on the very next page, we are going to use the space at the bottom here to do that problem. So we're just going to copy down the 2 points that are given to us here, negative 1, 4 and 2, negative 5. And we're going to find the equation of the line that goes through these 2 points. Again, the steps are all written in English on the previous page, but I'm just going to talk our way through here, and then you can reference that English description when you're working on the activities and the homework. Okay, first step is to just pick one of the points. If you're given 2 points, it doesn't matter which one you're given. We're just going to pick one. I'll circle this first one arbitrarily. Next step is to find the slope. Remember, the slope is the change in y over the change in x. So we subtract the y's first. I'll do 4 minus negative 5. Be careful with your signs. Over, and then we'll subtract the x's in the same order. Because I did the 4 first, I have to do the negative 1 first. Negative 1 minus 2. Notice the slope is a single fraction. It is not 2 fractions subtracted from each other. 4 plus 5 is 9. Negative 1 minus 2 is negative 3. So the slope here is 9 divided by negative 3, or just negative 3. Next thing we're going to do is copy our new best friend of that equation, y equals mx plus b. And we'll use that extensively today and for a while in this class. And then we're going to make one change and one change only. And the change we're going to make is to change the m to the number that we just calculated. Y equals negative 3x plus b. So only one thing changed. And we're going to come back to this equation. I'm going to put a star next to it in the description on the previous page. It says put a star next to that equation. Then we are going to take the circled point that the point we circled up above, and we're going to plug in. Instead of the y, we're going to put in the y coordinate, which is 4, equals negative 3 times, instead of x, we're going to put the x coordinate, which again for that circled point is negative 1. And everything else in this equation is copied. So the y and the x change to the specific x and y coordinates of one point, the same point. You got to pick the same point for both the x and the y. But the m is still -3, that's copied. The b is still b, that's copied. And here's an easy equation for us to solve for b. 4 equals 3 plus b. Subtract 3 from both sides, b equals 1. And then we go to the starred equation. We recopy it, except we make the one small change. Instead of plus b, we put what the actual value is. So we just found b is 1. So in this case, it's -3x plus 1. That's it. That's the equation of the line that goes through the points -1, 4 and 2, -5. Y equals -3x plus 1. Okay, so like I said, the whole process is written out here, and all of the works are written, all the specific steps that we just did are written out here. The process is, it's not that hard, I don't think. I don't think any individual step is hard, but there is some substituting and replacing and letters becoming numbers, and sometimes they stay numbers, and sometimes they go back to letters, and you just have to do the process enough times to get good at it. And trust me, this is a process in this class you want to get good at. If you do not get good at this process, you're going to be losing points on multiple quizzes and tests and final exams, and that is not great. This is a really fundamental process for us. So work through a ton of problems. We'll give you a chance to do that in the activities and the homework, but make sure that there's nothing fuzzy at all for you in this process. We can also find an equation of a line using another method. Suppose a non-vertical line has slope m and contains the point x1, y1. Don't worry about the subscripts. They're just there to indicate these are specific numbers. There's an x number and a y number. They're not variables. Then an equation of the line is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. We say that this linear equation is in point slope form. Let's see if we can use it on the next page. Okay, this one I'm just going to point instead of writing things out. Let's find an equation of the line that passes through the same 2 points we had before, but this time we'll use our new point slope equation. Step A is the same as it was before. Find the slope. It's -3. Step B is to rewrite the equation that we just saw, but we make one small change and one change only, and that's to replace the m with the slope value that we just got. So -3 gets plopped right here. There it is. Everything else is copied. Then we're going to circle one of the 2 points. If we're given 1 point, then you don't have to do anything. But if you're given 2 points, you just focus on one. We'll again focus on this -1, 4. And then you replace this x1 right here becomes the x value in this specific point. So that becomes an x minus -1, which is written right there. And then this y1 becomes this specific y coordinate. So it becomes y minus 4. And it's really easy to get that messed up because in the mx plus b thing, we changed the x and the y. Take a look down here. We changed x and y to specific numbers. But that's not what we did up here. Here we changed the x1 and the y1 to specific numbers, but the x and the y get copied all the way down, and they're never going to change to anything. They'll stay x and y the whole way through. This equation is perfectly good, but let's see if we can rewrite this in our standard mx plus b form. And it turns out it's easy to get from here to there. First, x minus -1 is really x plus 1. Then we will distribute that -3, so we get -3x minus 3. The y minus 4 has been copied the whole time. And finally, let's get the y by itself by adding 4 to both sides. And when I add 4 to the right-hand side, it combines with this -3, and you get a plus 1. So there's your equation, y equals -3x plus 1. Lo and behold, exactly the same equation as you had here. The two different equations, this one here and the y equals mx plus b, they both solve exactly the same problems. They both are used to find equations of lines. They will both give you exactly the same answer in every case. Really, it's just a matter of having two different tools to do the same thing. I like to tell my students, I don't need you to get good at both of these things. I want you to be really good at one of them, as opposed to being so-so at both of them. So you really want to pick one to focus on. Doesn't make any difference to me which one you want to focus on. They're both, I feel like, similar in terms of like how many steps and how long the process is to use them. Just pick one and focus on it and become really good at it. Don't be kind of okay at both of them. And then the other thing I'll say is that in the homework, it's going to say specifically use the point slope, that's this one, or it's going to say use the slope intercept, that's in this, the mx plus b one. But on a test or quiz, you should talk to your specific teacher, but on a test or quiz, I can say that I will never force you to use one over the other. Like I said, I want you to pick one and specialize. But in the homework, I'm going to give you an opportunity. I will force you in the homework to use each, and then you can pick which one you like better.